When you go silent, they don't hear peace, they hear everything they tried to ignore. The silence you've chosen, it's not just empty space, it's the echo of everything they tried to ignore. You didn't need to scream, cry, or beg for answers. No, you decided to step back and let the absence of your presence become the loudest thing in the room. And here's the twist. They didn't hear peace. They heard their own guilt, their mistakes, their failures, and the realization that they let go of something precious, something rare, something irreplaceable. They thought your silence meant weakness, that you'd break down without them. They believed that they'd be the ones to walk away, thinking you'd fall apart, thinking you'd chase after them. But that silence, it shattered their illusion. Every moment you've stayed silent has been a direct confrontation with their own truth. And here's the painful part. For them, they can't run away from it. They can't drown it out or pretend it doesn't exist. When they see your silence, it's a mirror reflecting the parts of themselves they've ignored, the parts of the relationship they refuse to face. The longer you stay quiet, the louder those echoes become. Picture this. Imagine being a lighthouse in the middle of a storm. You stood there, unwavering, casting your light, constant, steady, and they still chose to sail away. They thought they could find calm waters elsewhere, but what they didn't realize is that you were the calm. Without you, they are lost at sea. Out there, tossed around in a storm of their own making, with no anchor, no direction. You were their stability. You were the rock they didn't realize they needed until it was gone. They thought silence was your surrender, but in truth, it was your signal. It was a quiet thunder that rattled the ground beneath their pride and ego. See, people are used to noise. They expect reactions, outbursts, desperate pleas for closure. That's the game they know. That's what they're familiar with. And that's why silence terrifies them. It forces them to confront themselves, to reckon with the truth they thought they could avoid. Your silence strips away their ability to control the narrative. And in that loss of control, they're forced to face the consequences of their actions. Here's the truth they don't want to admit. They didn't just let go of a person, they let go of peace, clarity, the steady presence that kept their chaos from consuming them. And now, in the silence, they are faced with the overwhelming weight of what they threw away. Number 1. You were the calm in their chaos. Now they feel the void. When you walked away, they didn't just lose you. They lost the sanctuary you provided, the calm in their storm, the safe harbor that kept their turbulence at bay. You were their peace, their stability, and they didn't even realize it until it was gone. Think about this. They were walking through a burning building. The flames were surrounding them, the smoke rising, chaos everywhere. But there you were, the one cool, quiet room in the middle of the fire. You were their calm, the one place where their storms could breathe. And yet, they chose to leave. They thought the fire wasn't real. They thought they could do better. They thought peace was boring. And now? Now they're suffocating in the silence. Not because you're punishing them, but because they can't find the stillness anywhere else. Not in anyone else, and certainly not within themselves. And here's the real kicker. They don't know how to deal with your silence. Why haven't you reacted? Why haven't you begged for answers? Why aren't you spiraling like they thought you would? They expected noise. They expected drama. They expected you to chase, to try and fix what was broken. But instead, you did the hardest thing you could. You stayed silent. You stopped giving them the energy they once thrived on. That silence, it's breaking the pattern they've gotten so used to. And breaking that pattern, it messes with their mind in ways they can't understand. Because silence isn't just absence, it's power. And it removes their ability to control the narrative. They no longer have a way of guessing how you feel, what you're thinking, or whether you're hurting or healing. That uncertainty, that's the void. That's the consequence. They thought they could let you go, walk away, and move on with their lives. But they didn't realize that letting you go meant losing something far more valuable than they were willing to admit. They lost their peace. Silence is not weakness, it's wisdom and power. Let's shatter a huge lie right here, right now. Being let go doesn't mean you weren't enough. It means you were too much for the wrong person, too strong, too authentic, too real for someone who wasn't ready for the depth you brought into their life. You didn't lose anything by walking away. They lost everything they didn't know they needed. And your silence? It's not weakness. It's wisdom. It's not about ignoring them. It's about elevating yourself above the noise they created. It's about protecting your peace, not as an act of revenge, but as an act of self-preservation. You're not here to match their energy. You're here to rise above it. Remember what Marcus Aurelius said. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. You don't need to lower yourself to their level. You don't need to fight back. You just need to rise. And that rise? It's silent. It's powerful. It's a force that will make them regret ever thinking they could walk away from someone like you. Yes, it hurts. It's supposed to. You cared. You loved. You stayed loyal, even when it wasn't reciprocated. But pain isn't the enemy here. It's the teacher. Your silence is your lesson. It's how you're learning to protect your energy, to safeguard your heart, and to rise from the ashes of what they tried to burn. They let go of you thinking they'd feel lighter, but now they're carrying something far heavier than your presence, regret. And you? You're walking lighter, quieter, stronger, and more free than you've ever been. You didn't lose them. They lost you, the version of you that was willing to give them everything. And now that version is gone, upgraded, evolved, stronger than ever. The best part? You didn't need to announce it to the world. You didn't need to broadcast your growth. You just became it. Let them wonder. Let them scroll. Let them sit in their silence and try to figure out how they could ever think they could walk away from someone like you without facing the storm later. Your silence is power. For those of you sitting here, feeling like maybe you should have said more or done more, let me tell you something. You said enough. You did enough. You were enough. Your silence is everything. It speaks volumes. And now, it's time to stop repeating old stories and start writing a new one. The one where you don't just survive, but where you rise, transform, and reclaim your power. You've learned to embrace your silence. You've learned that healing happens in private, and that your peace is not something to beg for, it's something to protect. Your silence is your message. It's the loudest thing you could ever say. Now, stand tall. Let your silence do the talking. Let it echo in all the spaces your voice used to fill. You're not gone. You're just done giving access to people who couldn't handle the peace you brought. If you feel this truth deep within you, if you're done explaining yourself and ready to let your silence speak for you, type this in the comments. My silence is power. Let them feel what they let go. Let them sit with what they can never reach again. This journey is just beginning, and trust me, they won't be ready for what's coming next. Silence as recalibration. People often see silence as a passive move, something that is done out of anger or frustration. The truth is, silence is active. It is the process of realignment. Imagine yourself as a powerful radio tower, constantly transmitting your energy, your love, your understanding, your efforts, your loyalty. But when they tune out, when they choose to change the channel, you stop broadcasting, not out of bitterness, but because you've realized that broadcasting to someone who doesn't want to listen is futile. Your silence is not about their absence. It's about rediscovering your own presence. It's about recalibrating, retreating into your own energy, finding stillness where noise used to reside. You stop performing, explaining, or justifying yourself because you've come to understand that your worth doesn't need to be validated by those who never recognized it. Your energy deserves to be protected, nurtured, and focused inward. You don't need them to understand because you are understanding yourself. Silence becomes your sanctuaria, space of peace, where you rebuild, where you realign your energy. This is why silence terrifies people. It forces them to face their own reflection. When they can't access your thoughts or your emotions, they no longer have control over the narrative. And that's where the true psychological shift occurs. They thought they could walk away from your presence, but now they are left confronting their own guilt, their regrets, and their own unresolved feelings. Your silence is not a tool of vengeance, it's an act of self-preservation and realignment. Silence as clarity. Often, silence is misconstrued as a response from hurt or brokenness, but in reality, it is the clearest signal of personal growth and strength. Think of it as your quiet signal of knowing you're worth something that needs no words to explain. When you are silent, you are no longer investing energy into emotional drama or confusion. The silence that others might label as cold or indifferent is in fact the warm embrace of self-respect. This is your way of demonstrating that your peace is far more valuable than any fleeting moment of external validation or closure.